empowering deaf talent in the hospitality industry. Hi, today I'm Jesse Morris, your host for today, and this is Tourism News Africa. Today we're going to be doing not the normal, slightly different, more educational, more inspiring. Today we have two lovely guests, two amazing guests. We have Nazereen and Demokatso. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
I'm good, thanks. Are you good?
I'm all good. I'm quite excited today. It's quite different. I think it's for Tourism News Africa. This is a fantastic approach to really diversify themselves, to do things, to give educational purposes, to show more awareness of everything.
Wonderful. I'm happy to be here to share my story.
Pleasure. It's going to be
And I look forward to it.
Same here. I'm so excited for this interview. I'm so excited to learn. I'm so excited to learn from your side and how the process of working in the hospitality industry is for you.
Awesome. And I'm excited to share all of this information I have, to also share a bit of insight on how the hospitality sector can actually accommodate people with deaf.
Okay, let's get on to news. By news, let's get into the conversation. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the company you work for eDeaf and Definition, and what you offer?
Okay. My name is Nazereen Bhana, and in reality, I was born deaf. Most of my family members are hearing. My family is also deaf. My husband is deaf. So for many years, I've been involved in the deaf community, serving in the deaf community from the age of 16 approximately. In the deaf clubs, I would always be around there. Even at schools, I'd be around. But most of the time, I'd be in the deaf club, sharing services, volunteering myself. And that has worked well for us. I've also been involved in various deaf associations. I've also worked as a TV presenter, and I worked for 8 years being a TV presenter. And just what I've seen and what I learned at the time just made me think, sure, the deaf community has so many barriers. Yes, I thought of my own barriers, but I realized that other deaf people have even more extreme barriers where the education was actually very low. There were so many barriers that I got to see and witness when I worked as a TV presenter. And I traveled around the world a lot. I worked and I volunteered at the World Federation of the Deaf. So 4 times. It happens every 4 years. I've been to Australia, Canada, Japan. In Paris, sorry, not Japan. And then last year it was in Japan. The reason we go to all of these conferences, especially the WFD, is to discuss various issues that present themselves in the deaf community. We discuss lobbying, deaf education, etc. And last year, when I was at the World Federation of the Deaf, I learned a lot, and this also helped us to work well with the company that we all actually have now, the sensitization workshops. I realized that even the first time I went to the World Federation of the Deaf, I met so many lovely people, but I also saw the great works that they did. The first company we established is eDeaf, Employ and Empower, in 2007. It was myself, Nazereen Bhana, 51% I've got, and then we've got my business partner, who is JC Kotse, and he's got the 49% ownership. JC's family, his family is all mostly deaf as well. He's hearing himself, but he can sign really well. Also because he's been involved in the deaf community for so long. His wife is also part of the deaf community because she is a well-known qualified interpreter. So he knows how to look through the eyes of the deaf. I was the one who actually approached JC, and we went to a coffee shop because at the time he was working with another company. And I said to JC, listen, there are all these barriers in the deaf community. We need to do something. Please help me to find solutions. Can we maybe speak to companies to find ways in which we can find employment for these deaf people. They could maybe become cleaners or data capturers, or even work in a factory, as packers, etc. And some companies don't even know how to work with deaf people. So Jessie and I had this discussion. We had this discussion at a magazine, and it's more like a consultation. That added so much value because over the years we were able to work together, where we established the company and we focused on recruitment initially. Later, we added on a lot of training, interpreting services, IT's courses, wholesale and retail courses, and we look at what the company needs and the mutual benefit that we can all get. I think now it's 2007. It's more than 10,000, deaf people who have actually were on a learnership, and 4,000 who have actually got work. And there are various companies that we have employed deaf people at, like Checkers, Mr. Price, different companies, as I've said now. So normally EDF does the training, because we have the skills programs, we have the qualifications through the CETAs, and then after the training is complete, after the 1 year, we then look for employment for the deaf people. There's also hygiene and cleaning and IT level 3 and 4 training that we provide, because we do know that deaf people can be good as administrators. And we have various companies that we work with who employ deaf people, in law firms even, where deaf people do filing. Even companies like Bidvest McCarthy, where deaf people do the invoicing and the admin stuff. Deaf people can do anything except hear. And we try our utmost best to emphasize this. So we always say hearing companies need to look through the eyes of the deaf person and work with us to employ the deaf person. So IT level 3 and 4, the reasons why we established these qualifications, unfortunately in South Africa, there are only 44 deaf schools, and only 10 of those, well, let me just say this year, it's even less. 6 or 7 of those deaf schools provide a matric. It's sad, out of the whole of South Africa. So what's going to happen to most of these deaf people once they leave school? A few percent, not even 5%, go to varsity and become teachers. We have 1 or 2 deaf people who are studying law, but one who's an actual lawyer, There are some deaf people who studied accounting, but it's not a lot of them, because the majority of the deaf people face barriers when going to university. So hence what we do is we get deaf people to come to us at EDF. We help them to get a stipend to further their studies so that they can buy food and transport. And what they study is IT or wholesale and retail, because most companies require some sort of qualification. But we have to explain to deaf people that you need to have some sort of qualification, and they need to have some qualification. Even with companies, we have to explain to them that deaf people unfortunately have barriers. And we see that a few deaf people work white collar jobs. And we want to make sure that more deaf people work in certain areas. Hence, we encourage companies to employ deaf people. So from 2007, we've been very successful. The journey has been amazing. And recently, we have visited companies where we've placed deaf people. We've done follow-ups, and most of the companies, I must say, are extremely happy. They are thrilled to have the deaf people placed in their companies. And it sounds positive. So hence why I'm here, to explain mostly about employing and empowering deaf people. Definition is a recent company, established just after COVID. A lot of people were battling at the time. When COVID struck, there was lots of barriers to communication, even lots of barriers to getting interpreters. So even when it came to announcements of COVID and information about what the virus meant, etc., we did a lot of videos on that. And what we also did was an app we update our app. So we teach a lot of hearing people on deaf culture and a bit of soft skills on how to adapt and work with deaf people. But with the deaf people, what we also do is we do a work readiness program so that they are easily able to adapt to the working environment when they are actually placed. So we help them build their confidence. So eDeaf and Definition would like to say are sister companies because both of them work together, where eDeaf initially starts with the training and the deaf people and candidates are handed over to Definition, who provide the employment. What we always do is we always say to companies out there, how can we help you to find more inclusive ways to make sure that deaf people are accommodated for?
Wow.
I know, I said a mouthful.
No.
Sure.
I love a good story, and that is honestly a beautiful story. Very, very interesting and inspiring. I think what you do is something that not a lot of people really look into, or they oversee it. They don't really, especially in the deaf community, that people don't really acknowledge it as much. And the fact that you said, let me make an initiative, may make a change, let me help people who are going through this problem to make a difference. And I really do appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think people who do oversee it, they should appreciate what you do, because what you're doing is amazing work.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's why I always say to companies, how can we help you?
What makes deaf employees well suited for the hospitality industry?
I think it was in 2008 or 2009 or around 2012, I can't really remember. And we did training with 50 deaf people from another association, another service provider. They were called CIA, right? A company called CIA. It was a beautiful collaboration that we did. Hygiene and cleaning training. So a lot of these deaf people worked at the airport as cleaners. And they worked well. Yes, some of them found new employment and some left. So I think 3 to 5 of them are still left there after 16, 17 years. So that's wonderful that, some of them have stayed. We also work with Hotel 224 in Pretoria. We've got 7 deaf people there who, are responsible to clean up, do the bedding. And yes, there are some who have left, but most of the others who work as people in the kitchen, and they work as chefs. Some of them, and some of them work as waiters. So the reason we place deaf people in the hospitality area is because they're more focused. It's not like they're making calls. Yes, there are deaf people who are on a higher level, on a entry level 3 or 4, and they can do the admin part of the work. They could even work at the front desk. But we also prefer deaf people also to work at the back. We always say deaf people can do anything. They can be cleaners. They can work in any department in the hospitality area, even in the laundry area. So deaf people can do anything. And they are skilled because they are focused and they pay attention to details. So, yeah, in the hospitality area, I do believe a lot of deaf people are capable of working in those areas. Because I even know a few years ago, one deaf person came and said, are there any opportunities out there in hotels? And they even said to me, are there any job opportunities at Hotel 224? And I said to them, unfortunately, now, no. Yeah. Yes, there are very nice hotels like Sophosine, Protea hotels. I'm hoping that one day we can work with some of those companies. There are a few deaf people who have come to me who are extremely smart and they want to work as administrators. But then some of them say, no, they don't want to work as administrators. They'd rather just work as cleaners because they just like working with their hands. They love to focus And just working with their hands is what rejuvenates them. Whereas if they were to work as an administrator, their biggest concern would be making mistakes. So we need to respect that as well. We need to listen to the deaf person and see what they would like to do. So even as a cleaner, there could be good administrators. And I do know that we have deaf people working at a private hospital. I think it was 2 years ago. And two ladies were useless, right? And their work was, dear my God, the whole time, just all over the place. And I say to them, if you go to lunch, inform. And they're like, no problem. I had to fix everything, take off the plugs, put everything together, put the monitor in one place, in a nice place. When they came back, they were like, where's all my information? I said, okay, just hold on. There's a click of a button, all your information is there. And they're like, oh, my filing is gone. I'm like, what was the information? So it was the cleaner, not me, but the cleaner themselves who organized everything for the ladies, And some people just assume cleaners are not intelligent enough to do the work. But we have deaf people who are cleaners who are extremely smart. But I will always say to people, you start from the bottom and you work your way up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, how smart you may be, but you start at the bottom. So accept that, you need to build yourself so that you too can have a brighter future. So this is what we always tell the deaf people. So I do believe that hospitality is the best area for deaf people. We are blessed to work with companies like Impact and Supercare. They have more training coming up, and they do have posts out there. So we do want to make sure that deaf people are employed in hospitalities going forward.
And I agree with what you said about starting from the bottom, you have to reach the top. It applies to everybody. Everybody can't just start from the top. You have to start from the bottom. And I agree 100%. I like and the fact that you're giving the opportunity for them just makes it just even better and more inspiring.
Exactly.
Okay, so next question. Okay, how do you ensure effective communication between a deaf employee and their hearing colleagues or customers?
Solutions?
Yes, solution, quick and simple.
The services that we provide, right? The one important one is a sensitization workshop. Just before a deaf person is employed, or even if they are already employed, it's fine. We can still come do the workshop. The sensitization workshop focuses on communication, the background of deaf culture, even deafness, sign language, the do's and the don'ts when it comes to deaf people and approaching deaf people. Things like you can't throw something at the deaf person. You can't hit the deaf person on the back.
From behind.
Exactly. So we explain all of this in the sensitization workshop. The signing of sign language is a bit, it's not that much. It's just basic signs that you get to learn in the workshop. Like, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and pleasure. And sometimes it's fun things that people ask, like even weird questions, like what's the sign for this? What's the sign for that? And some people will ask like silly questions, like can deaf people marry hearing people? Can deaf people drive? So these are the questions that we want to get out of hearing people, so that we expose them to a bit of deaf culture, so that they can get the feel of working with deaf people and just adjust to having deaf people around. We also have sign language course, which can be 5 days and can also be broken down. We've got this sign language course online, and then even the app. So maybe in hospitality, there are different signs here. But even when it comes to tourism, there are different signs. There's a sign for like game drive, for instance, game drive, right? Or a sign for receptionist, or there are different signs that are there. But you can also inform us of the different signs that you want us to add onto the app, and we also have categories and groupings of the signs. Maybe the different hospitality companies want to give us words or terms that they want us to add on there. We can do that. So it can be like the resources and tools for people who are working in the hospitality area. So we can do that. So that after 1 year, you're easily able to communicate with the deaf person. For everyday socialization of the deaf person in the workplace, you can use these tools so that you as the hearing person can be comfortable and the deaf person can also be accommodated for. They're different things even. For example, with Afrikaans, English, Xhosa, Zulu, etc., different people come together into the working environment and their different cultures. It's the same thing when a deaf person comes in. It's just a different language.
Yeah.
But sometimes everybody gets a bit scared, and some people assume that just because a deaf person is signing, they are angry. But the language itself is very expressive. Hence, we do these sensitization workshops to explain to people that certain things are part of their culture. But all of these tools we have available, they will help you.
We see you have your interpreter here, Democratso. Are interpreters or technological tools available for all deaf people for meetings and training sessions?
I like this answer actually. This question is one that I really like. I think we have explained that we do a lot of sensitization workshops, we provide sign language training, etc. So you would expect that, deaf people or even the companies can have interpreters at any time. But it's not the case. For disciplinaries, we know that even the staff members, just because you know sign language, you'd need to use an interpreter, external interpreter who's neutral, right? So it doesn't matter if the staff member knows sign language. The staff member in the working environment can be like the communicator for everyday conversations. But the interpreter I'm with today, right? I'm not with an interpreter 24 hours, by the way. Right? Because I can't pay the interpreter to be with me the whole time. They'd be watching me the whole time. For instance, like this at a podcast, I'd have an interpreter, or at an interview, or at a meeting, I'm booking an interpreter. But after 5 o'clock, bye-bye interpreter, and I'll do it by myself. However, going back to your question, in South Africa, we have plus minus 4 million deaf people. So that includes people who are deafened and hard of hearing. And some people, after many years, they lose their hearing, and others, just through accident lose their hearing. But around 500,000, 600,000 deaf people use sign language. There are sign language users that are like 600, right? But qualified interpreters who are certificated, which is the South African Translators Institute, sign language interpreters who are qualified are only 12, I think, at the moment. And one of the interpreters that are standing right there next to you is, right, one of them is part of the group. It's sad to say, but I'm privileged, I must say, I'm very privileged to have interpreters who are able to work with me. But imagine deaf people go to the bank, who go to the hospital, even worse, police station, or even court. Now, this deaf person can't use an interpreter. Even I can't lock the interpreter on me the whole time. I can't work with one interpreter the whole time because I can't afford the interpreter pay if I were to work with them full time. But not in the hospitality area. You can contact Definition and ask them, should you be doing a full day training, maybe a meeting about strategies, for a course for 1 or 2 days? Definitely, we can offer an in-person interpreter, no problem. Obviously, the interpreter will be paid for the day according to our rates. It is a little bit expensive, but it is worth it to make sure that everybody gets all the information. The deaf people know exactly what's going on and what the communication is in the workplace. Okay, so that's aside. There are interpreters there, and the hospitality areas can use interpreters. But for everyday usage, for instance, maybe there's a 5-minute or 10-minute meeting. Are you going to call an interpreter for them to come for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, drive all the way to your company and pay all that money? Is it really worth it? It isn't, right?
Yeah.
So what we have is another solution. In South Africa, we are privileged to have a company called Convo. We have a partnership with Convo, which is an external company. It's not part of EDF, but we work closely with them. And they provide accessibility as well for deaf people. They work with the internet service provider MTN, just only with them, not other providers like Vodacom and Cell C. So what they do is they provide an interpreting relay service. So if I were to have my phone here and I want to have a conversation with you, or maybe you are out somewhere in Durban for 1 week and I really, really want to speak to Jessie. Perhaps there's an issue, there's something I really want to discuss with you. What I can do is I take your phone number, because I've already downloaded the app, right? I send your phone number to the interpreter online as a deaf person. What they do is they call you on an audio call. And then on your side, your phone will ring, and the interpreter will voice for you on the phone while you're in Durban. Whereas for me, on my side, the interpreter is on a video call. And all of this is done live. Oh. So even deaf people, they can talk to their parents, their grandparents, their aunties, their uncles, people they've never spoken to on the phone before. And even in the rural areas, some of the aunties and gogos, they don't have smartphones. So what they can do is the interpreter can still make a phone call to the granny, but still relay the message, what the deaf person is saying to them. So also, should you have a meeting in your company, the deaf person can call Convo and just give the interpreter a bit of background and say, listen, I'm in a meeting, can be a strategic meeting, etc. And the deaf person watches the phone or any other technological device. And this meeting can be 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on how long the meeting is. And the deaf person feels they are able to participate in the meeting.
Convo, yeah, the person because the link.
You can have a look there. So all the information is there. We've partnered with this company to create more access for deaf people. The people who actually established Convo are deaf themselves. There's deaf, there's Convo Australia, Canada. Yeah, so there's 5 different countries that actually work under Convo Global. And then there's also South Africa. So we are extremely privileged in South Africa to actually be able to use Convo. The person, the founder himself, he is a South African who was born in South Africa many years ago and decided to start Convo Global many years ago. And he, at the time, decided to move out of South Africa to start his ventures and start Convo. And then once he got funding, decided to come back and give back to the community, the deaf community, the deaf community in South Africa. So this can work well as in the family and also in the companies as well. So there's no excuse, basically. You can use a video call on Convo, or you could use an in-person interpreter for one day, 2 days, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the technology there, but also there is the interpreting service that are available.
Perfect. So 4 million deaf people in South Africa.
Yes.
That is, and only 12 qualified interpreters, right? So now, but what you guys are doing is more miracle work as well. So you're the middleman for people to allow them to communicate with the family members and have those business conversation meetings and interviews and meetings.
Well, you.
Wow.
Yeah, what we do is empower the deaf people, the families, the people around them. We support the interpreters as well. We're not responsible for the interpreters, but should there be issues, what we do is, we give feedback. And we do know that, interpreting services are, if there's not a lot of interpreters one day, we can use Convo. And for physical meetings, as I said, right, even with conferences, definitely book an interpreter. And definition can help you with that. But we do feel that interpreters are of value when we want to communicate with deaf people. Okay, so but I think it was in America. One lady went to a store. I can't remember what specific clothing or garment she wanted to buy. And she brought her phone with her in her bag. She's always got the phone in her bag with her, 24/7. And she says, no, I want this and this and this, size this and that. And the Convo interpreter is just there on her phone, interpreting everything, even in the store. For me, I was shocked, my jaw was on the floor even. So we always encourage people to use services like Convo. So even if you want to bring family with, sometimes the family can even know your business and be like, oh, Nazereen brought this and this and that. And for me, I don't like to involve my family sometimes, and I don't want them to interpret for me. I'd rather have somebody who's neutral. So as an adult, a deaf adult, you want to be independent.
Stick book.
So even with the hotels out there, we are able to assist them. Convo can also work with them to see how they can actually assist. But with hotels and hospitality areas, they definitely can have various tools, definition tools that are provided, and also in the technical tools, technological tools that can be provided by Convo.
Wow. Actually, I must say, I'm very impressed by what you guys do. I must say, very impressed. But
awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So, next question. What reasonable accommodations do business put in place for deaf employees?
When it comes to reasonable accommodation, the one big thing is interpreting services, right? Interpreting services don't need to be 24/7, as I said. Only when you need the interpreter, okay? But also, interpreting services are a need when it comes to information, getting information to the deaf person, whether that's in a meeting, a disciplinary, etc. It's not really a want. But the one other big thing that we always say is flashing lights for emergencies. That is important, whether it's in the passage or there's a pager to inform everybody that there's an emergency and everybody needs to evacuate. I know there are even new emergency apps that have actually come up, which help deaf people to know that there's an emergency and they need to evacuate. I think it's also extremely important that there's like a reflector jacket or even like a top or waistcoat that says, hello, I'm deaf, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. Even with a name badge. Something that is easily identifiable, where people know that this person is working here and they are deaf. I know there are deaf people who work in factories who wear reflector jackets, so that those who are driving forklifts, etc., are aware that they are deaf people and they need to be cautious. It actually varies. I think it varies from company to company. The reasonable accommodation can be a bit different. I think it's important that the colleagues that work with deaf people, or if there's a department there, right, we need to make sure we come through. We do a consultation with that department We do like even a site visit before we employ the deaf person. I know there's one place in Pretoria, I think it's called Lunesteelt. They say they do not put deaf people where there's lots of machinery that's very noisy. What they do is they make sure to place the deaf people in areas that are less noisy and also less risky for the deaf person as well. But obviously, the noisy machines, the deaf people can't operate because the deaf person can't hear when to switch off the machine. So it's things like that we also need to consider when you think of reasonable accommodation. So with reasonable accommodation, we look through the eyes of the deaf, we look through the company as well and see in what ways can the deaf person be accommodated for and not be at risk. I know there's one hotel, I'm not sure if a lot of hospitality areas have CCTV cameras and areas. Deaf people can work in those areas because I do know with the one company we work with, SPV, there are lots of telemonitor personnel and people who watch CCTV footage to monitor suspicious behavior. And what their responsibility is to alert people who are out there who can actually catch the people who are suspicious. You see, so there are different ways in which deaf people can actually work in the different departments. But yeah, for reasonable accommodation, flashing lights, technology can be used, but obviously companies need to contact us so that we can come through, do a site visit, and obviously advise from there. But we always say don't use an interpreter every single day because now the interpreter should be neutral. We want the deaf person to engage with the staff members every day so that they can build the relationship without interpreters so that you can even grow. So you want to show even your customers that you're more inclusive and we're diverse. Recently, we had one deaf person working in, I can't remember the name of the company now. The person works at the Department of Labor.
Okay.
And the two deaf people were signing and they asked, did you guys employ these people? And the company said, yes, we've employed them. And the client said, oh, wow, this is wonderful, because now it shows that this company itself is inclusive and diverse. And so we always say to companies, you can do it and you should do it.